Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and in this video we're reviewing to Witches of East End, Season 1, Episode 8, called Snake Eyes. This episode was incredible. There were so many curveballs that were being thrown. This was the best episode of the season. I know I say that every episode, but this really was a fantastic episode. We found out a lot more stuff, and that big cliffhanger is pretty big on what's going to happen now. So, we're just going to have to get into it. So I think the first thing I want to talk about is Joanna and Wendy. They had a very big plot in this episode, just a really big plot. Because Joanna, basically, she admits that she must show Wendy something, and Joanna shows Wendy that she basically has this serpent key. And Wendy's extremely angry that Joanna lied, and Wendy wonders why on earth Joanna kept it all these years. She's like, well, why'd you keep it? You didn't tell me about this. Why'd you keep it? And she basically admits this, the only thing they have left of their home, and the only way back should they want to return in the future. So basically, Wendy urges Joanna to get rid of the serpent key. She's like, you gotta get rid of this. And Joanna is adamant that they're not going to get rid of it. And Joanna ends up storming out, and Wendy looks at the key, and it comes to life, bites her wrist, and it wraps around her arm. From this part on in the episode, Wendy is basically, she's a psycho bitch. The whole rest of the episode, she really is crazy. I mean, she's screaming. Joanna comes in furious. She goes to get her spell book to see if they can find a spell to get the key off her wrist. And, shortly after this, Wendy disappears. She just disappears, and Joanna cannot find her. And Joanna's pretty annoyed about this. I mean, she does have a right to be pretty annoyed, because this was something that Joanna kept from Wendy, so she probably knew the effect it was going to have on her, and that's the reason why she kept it from her, because it has such a big effect on Wendy, and that's the reason why. So Joanna's trying to find this spell that might be able to get the key off of Wendy's wrist, but when she finally finds Wendy has some new ideas. She says that maybe they can use it to go home, but Joanna says, while she'd love to return home to the other realm, they can never do that, because she reveals that their father banished them to this world when he came into power, and it's never going to be safe for them to return to Asgard. I definitely thought that was a very big reveal, and I definitely really enjoyed that. And Wendy tries to leave the house to get to the portal gate, but Joanna ends up bewitches the house and locks it from all sides. And as hard as Wendy tries to leave, she's trapped. Because Wendy searches the house for Joanna, because Joanna's now disappeared. And Joanna finally attacks Wendy, trying to save her the serpent's deadly hold. And Wendy asks Joanna what it feels like to have abandoned her only son. I was like, what? We basically found out that the whole reason she kept this key is because she has a connection to her son. She abandoned her only son. Her only son is in the other realm, which, by the way, the other world we'll get to in a second. But that was huge. I'm like, what? What only son? What only son are you talking about? And it turns out that Joanna had a son, but she abandoned her son in the other world, and I thought that was really cool to see how it all works. And it turns out that she says that not a day goes by that she doesn't think of him or what they've lost. So I'm wondering if there's a way to get her son back to her, or are we eventually going to see her son? Is there like some kind of way to get him back? Because they focused a lot on that. And as Joanna's walking through the house looking for Wendy, she's dead set on getting to the portal. Wendy says some awful things to Joanna, and in her commentary, we come to know that Freya and Ingrid's father is in this world too. And Wendy and Joanna, they continue to fight. Wendy says if she wants the thing off, she'll have to destroy it. And Wendy is trapped Joanna. Joanna ends up destroying the key. Before Wendy can do anything more, Joanna is destroying the key, which has also destroyed any chance she can ever get of getting back to her home and seeing her son, which is really sad. And I really like that scene, because you see that Wendy also does really care that, that's the only way she could have seen her son, and now it's destroyed. I am wondering if there's some sort of shortcut or something, because they focused a lot on her son. I don't think they're just going to, like, abandon that. I do think we're going to eventually see something with her son. You never know. There could be another way to get to there. There could be some other key that they just don't know about. I think there's probably another key somewhere, and we just don't know about it. And, who could have that other key? I'll get to that in a second. But I think this plot was really good. There was a lot focusing on this, and we found a lot about how she had a son. I never would have expected that Joanna had a son, and I just love how they threw curveballs at us. I would have never suspected that. Now, who do I think has that key is this guy that, Ingrid was talking to. There's this man, he's writing this novel on, about East End, and he's curious about the Auklet, and he's actually pursuing the history of witchcraft in the town. So basically, what's that girl's name? I can't think of the girl's name, but the one that Ingrid got pregnant, basically, when she cast that spell and she got the baby. Well, she basically is the one that admits that Ingrid's a witch, and she says, oh, no, she's just kidding, it just feels that way. It must have been a coincidence. There's no way that spell would have worked. And, as it turns out, though, this guy pretty much thinks that it could be true. He thinks that all of this is true, and that's what he thinks. He thinks that all of this is true, and he reveals, he thinks witches are real, and the real reason he thinks this is because his father actually was the one who wanted to find out more about these witches, and he knew about this world called Asgard, which is the world that Wendy and Joanna were talking about before. And we found out about this, after that, basically. And, he thinks that they come from this magical land. He seems to think the door to Asgard is in East End. So, what I'm thinking here is that even though they destroyed that key, he has another way to get them to Asgard. Because then Ingrid asked them point blank when she comes home, is there a town called Asgard? Is it real? And I really like this character. I think he's definitely I think he's actually going to be an ally for them. Although it is a bad thing that he might find out that they're witches because he could expose magic to the entire world. And if he exposes magic to the entire world, some really bad stuff could happen to them. But I do think that's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. And I do think that he is the one who is going to get them out of this bad situation that they're in. And that's what I think. I think he's going to be the one to fix all of this. And I think definitely that's what's going to happen. And I really like to see that happen. And I really like to see more of this character. So I think this character really changed a lot. Because now he knows about the witches and everything. And even though Ingrid's denying it, he pretty much knows it's true. So, yeah, that was pretty big. And the only other thing we have talked about is Freya, which is actually also really big. This whole episode just had some really big cliffhangers and everything. We see that Penelope is cooking up some sort of a dangerous magic of her own, and Freya's talking with Ingrid about her problem, basically, the love triangle, and she basically thinks that Killain is her destroyer. So she enchants Penelope ends up, she enchants some roses and addresses them to Freya. Killain enters this bar, and he attempts to strike up conversation with Freya, but it doesn't go really well. They get into this big fight, and they end up getting into a fight, and Killain's, sort of girlfriend, we don't really know where she stands, but she shows up to surprise him, and she realizes that he's actually in love with Freya, which I thought was pretty big, the way that all worked out. That was definitely really big. And, at this bar, Freya receives her cured roses. She thinks they're from Dash, but they're actually from his crazy mother, Penelope, aka Athena. And Penelope arrives at the bar and notices that Freya looks very, very ill. There's something off about her. She doesn't look right. There's something, off about her. She doesn't look right. And she tells her that she must come home with her immediately. She says that she'll take great care of her. She takes Freya to her house, and you knew right here something very bad is going to happen to Freya at that house because Penelope cannot be trusted. So obviously I knew something very bad was going to happen, and Penelope takes her at her house. Freya ends up falling asleep, and she starts casting some sort of spell. And as soon as this happens, literally a few scenes afterward, Dash just she finishes her spell, but Dash barges in, and Dash gets in. Penelope freaks out and asking Dash to help Freya, and of course, you can tell this is all an act, but she basically makes it look like Freya is dying, and that she's dead and she's unconscious or something. That's what she makes Dash think. It's all bull, but that's what she thinks. Eventually, Freya's back to normal, and, he basically tells Penelope to go away for a second because he tells her that he actually did not go to London for a medical conference. He went there because he couldn't stand the thought of being away from Freya. Before he was ready, and he was ready to break up with her. He was going to talk to her and say that he could not, he didn't want to marry her anymore. But seeing her in the pain that she was in, it really made him feel bad and really showed him how much he loves her. And I really love seeing that scene. It was a really nice scene. I absolutely love that scene. I thought they did a really great job of that scene. That was by far one of the best scenes of the whole episode. I really enjoyed that scene. So definitely that was really great. And, but then at the end, we see that, she's ready to start this fire for them, but she uses her magic, nothing happens. She comes home and she realizes that Penelope took her powers away. So Penelope did do something very bad to Freya. It seemed like she didn't do anything bad to her, but she took her powers away. So Freya is powerless now. So if anything bad happens to Freya, she's kind of in very big trouble because nothing good can happen to her now she has no powers. It's really cool to see the way that all worked, and I really enjoyed that. So that's how the episode ended, with her just saying that she lost her powers. And I thought this was a fantastic episode. It was by far the best episode of the season. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. What's going to happen with Ingrid's son? Do you think we're going to hear about him again? I do think we will hear about him again, but do you think there's a way to bring him back? Also, do you think the Librarian might be their way of getting back to Asgard? I do think he will help them with that. How will Freya get her powers back? Is Dash going to find out that his mother is a crazy bitch? Is he going to find that out? And is there another key? I do think there is another key. We're definitely going to have to see where that goes, though. Wendy's storyline with her having her last life didn't really, wasn't really explored in this, but I definitely enjoyed this episode. 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it. And that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.